Recently, I flicked through a very interesting book called The Lucifer Effect by Philip Zimbardo. Now, the book deals with the question, what makes good people bad? It's a very interesting analysis, and one of the things that the author suggests is that there are three different main aspects here. The first is on an individual level, whether the person naturally, an individual, inclines towards the good in them or the bad in them. The second is on the level of situation, meaning the idea he suggests, or what may put this into perspective, is that the human being is like an actor on stage, and what animates the human being, what brings them to action, is the power of situation, right? So the situation, whatever a given situation is, dictates whether the good in the person manifests or the bad in the person manifests. And the third is on the level of the system itself, right? The overarching system. Now, what he shows is that it goes from top to bottom. The system dictates the situations, which dictates the actions of the individual. Now, one of the things I took from this is that the human beings, we react to situations, and we can't escape this. Situations are always unfolding around us, and we have to react to those situations. But the question we need to ask is, should human beings be a slave of the situation itself? Meaning, should any given situation dictate whether the good in us manifests or the bad in us manifests? Or should there be something else about the human being which elevates the human being above the situation? Therefore, they are choosing how they react in any given situation, and they choose always the good, to act in a good way no matter what the situation is, and instead of acting in an evil, negative way. That's the key. One of the ways this can manifest is if the human being has some things figured out, such as what are their higher values, what is their higher goal, what is their purpose, right? Once the human being has this figured out, then they're no longer a slave, if you like, to a given situation or a system, but they've elevated themselves above that. Doesn't mean they're free of, they don't have to deal with any situations anymore, they don't have to act anymore, or they won't be in a given system anymore. No, but they have elevated themselves from the perspective that they can choose as to how they react in a given situation. Now, what's profound about Islam is that it gives the human being a framework which elevates the human being from this ephemeral realm in every single way, shape, and form. Let's think of it from this perspective. The human being is reminded that they were created to worship God, that they are a special creation by God that has the potential to do good and has negative aspects to their personality. However, Islam gives the human being the motivation to do good and be good. God tells us good is rewarded. You do good, it will be rewarded. You do evil, it will be punished. Now, this gives us the drive and the motivation and the higher value now to act in a good way in any given situation. So therefore, when any situation unfolds, whereas a normal person, a person that hasn't figured out the true purpose of life, hasn't found their creator, hasn't found that motivation to do good in any given situation, in a particular situation, a person may act in a negative, evil way. And that happens. But when someone has these things figured out, they would act or try to act in any given situation in the best way possible. Let's take this coronavirus outbreak. One of the ways or people reacted initially was in a very selfish way. Now, the situation, which was the coronavirus pandemic, this outbreak that's taking place and that we're in right now, people acted in a negative, evil way, if you like, from the perspective of being selfish. They started hoarding food and other day-to-day items that we need as human beings, and they weren't concerned about the welfare of other people, the elderly and other people in society. Now, this situation resulted in the person, or the negative aspects of the person manifesting, or people manifesting. However, if we look at it from an ideal perspective, now obviously some Muslims obviously behaved in a negative way too. I'll be the first to say this. We noticed this, we witnessed this too. So I'm not trying to highlight that Muslims, just because Islam gives you the framework to be the best human being, that we as Muslims always conform to this or are living to that standard. No, we fall short too. Nevertheless, a Muslim who was acting upon Islam, truly submitting themselves to their Creator, understanding reality, would act in a different way. They would see, okay, here's an outbreak. I can be selfish by, hoarding as much food as I can for the next couple of months and think about myself and my survival. But no, my religion, my way of life, this way of life is a more correct way of looking at it, dictates that I do good. And doing good in this situation is that I'm conscious of my Creator and I take care of other human beings. Therefore, not be selfish and hoard stuff. If anything, be there for other people. So it's profound how Islam gives you the framework and the higher value and the higher goal and the higher purpose to be able to conduct yourselves in the best way possible in any given situation. It elevates you above the situation and the system. You know, it truly elevates you and frees you from being a slave to external factors. Now, obviously, it's a different thing as to if we are acting upon this. And if we're not, as Muslims, we should really think about this and realign ourselves with the tradition, such a beautiful way of life which elevates you, you know, and encourages you to do good and be a virtuous, upright human being. You know, and it also, for those that are non-Muslims, it should give you something to think about from the perspective that, you know, if we don't have these higher values and we haven't figured out who we are, what the ultimate purpose of life is, you know, and we haven't understood these things, then we will, in some ways, many of us, most of us will be just reactionary. We would be, quote unquote, slaves to the situations that fold, slaves to life, slaves to occurrences and systems. But as human beings, deep down, we know that we're more than this. We should elevate ourselves above this. We're not like animals that just react, right? So, and that being said, obviously I'm not saying, you know, there are many human beings out there that naturally inclines towards the good in them, you know, and it's just their disposition, and this is a beautiful thing to see indeed. But I guess what I'm trying to highlight is that one of the beautiful things about Islam is that it gives the human being a framework. It awakens them to their true essence and their true reality, which elevates them in every way, shape or form, or at least gives them the opportunity to elevate themselves in every way, shape or form. And this is why another reason we should really look into Islam and how, you know, how it's profound from many different perspectives, even from this perspective. So hopefully I've given you guys some things to think about. I just wanted to share these thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's have the discussion there. Make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell. Till next time, take care.